Hi there. Okay, so in this lecture, we're going to set up our bowels with flame, smoke, and embers, as you can see in the shot here. I've shown you how to set up an actual particle, so I'm not going to go right into lots of detail, but I'm going to show you how I did this. What I want you to, worst case scenario, you should copy what I've done and then modify it yourself, because that way you'll learn. But I would really like you to create your own particle systems for your scene. But I'm going to show you how to do this now, and we'll take it from there. So let's get started. Let's just turn this off now. So this is our bow. You can see our bow is a prefab. If I go to the prefabs folder down here, in my props folder, you can see I've got these bows here, and I've got all of my elements inside the prefab. So I've got my actual mesh and my collision, which we set up earlier, and then I've got the light on the top, so when we do our nighttime scene, it's going to really light the area up. It's going to look really cool. So we've got the logs as well inside, which is all glowing and looking pretty cool. We've got smoke coming out of the barrel. We've got embers, orange embers, you can see flying up there, and we got the flames, obviously, particles. And I'm not convinced about the rendering of this material. It's additive, and it kind of sometimes looks like the flames are behind the object. Can you see that? But they're not. They're coming out they're always inside the object. So it's kind of a bit strange, but it works quite well. So we're going to go with this. So let's go and see. First of all, let's have a look at our particle images that we've created. So if we go to our particle folder here, you can see I've got there's my particle material here, which has got this image on it. It's just a very small 64 by 64 image, shaped like a glowing flame, basically. And I've put that in the material, and you can see the material here, which is a particle additive material, and I've just got the image and dragged it into there, and that's it. That's all you need to do. And here I've got an ember as well, same deal as this image. It's just a blob, and again that's very small, 32 by 32, to give me this ember that's floating up here. You can see it gives it quite a nice effect. It's fairly convincing. It's quite a lazy kind of fire, which I kind of like. I like a lazy fire. It's a little bit windy, so we could probably make it a bit more, put a bit more noise in it. But you experiment with your fire and get it how you want it. So let's go through the actual particle systems. In fact, let's go through the bow. I keep going through the bow. So basically, I've got this set up as a prefab, and I've got all these elements inside this prefab. So if I go to my props folder, if I drop another bow down, for example, here in my scene, it's already got all the particles embedded in it and everything. I don't have to do that again. That's the yellow one, in fact. And I've got a green one here. Bring out a green one. Here's the green one. So, like I say, it's all there. If I play the scene, you'll see them all sitting there with the particles. There we go, all on fire. And the yellow one's there's one over there too. But we only need these two, so I'll get rid of these two. So, yeah, don't need that one. And we don't need that one. To create this smoke, I just used the mist particle that we created earlier and modified it within the particle system, changed the size of it, the start size and the way it moves, and I modified all the values just to make it look like smoke. So start at the top. So duration, we've got this on loop, so it will just keep emitting particles constantly, the smoke will constantly coming out. So the duration is only relevant really if you haven't got loop. So if I turn that off, it ends. If I simulate, it will come out for 8 seconds and then it will stop emitting smoke. 7, 8, come on, stop emitting smoke. There we go, so it ends. So having loop will make sure that it constantly emits the smoke. And we definitely want pre-warm ticked, so as it's there when we start. Yeah, so make sure pre-warm is ticked so that it's all warmed up when Unity boots the scene. Start lifetime 4. Size over lifetime. I'm just checking down there. Okay, so yeah, start lifetime's 4. So it will just let, you know, that's 4 seconds. It will stay alive for 4 seconds as it drifts up. Start speed. I went through all these before, so you know, just copy, and then you can modify them from there. Rate over time. So this is the number of particles emitted per second. So every second it's kicking out 30 smoke particles. You could probably reduce that, actually, that's quite a lot. Yeah, it's probably a bit more like it. It'll give Unity a bit of a breather, so it's not so process intensive. Shape, I've done a sphere for this. Very small sphere. It's 0.2, so it's coming out of a point. So I wanted it right inside these flames. Turn that back on. And then it grows. I use size over lifetime to grow it. So it starts off at 0.5 and grows pretty big. It can even grow a bit bigger if it wants to. And then grows pretty big and then shrinks to nothing as it dies, which is what over its lifetime, which is what we want it to do. Color over lifetime is just changing the alpha. I've kept it white, and we've added a bit of noise to give it a bit, make it look a bit like it's waving around a little bit. It keeps stopping, which is not good. Smoke, there we go. Yeah, so you can see my values, and you can see this preview here. If we turn it off, it kind of is a bit more linear, and it just gives it a subtle sort of motion. You can see it sort of sways around a little bit, and you can increase the strength of that if you want to. I mean, that's just madness. So you get the idea of what it does. I mean, if it's really gusty, it might look quite good. But something very subtle is what you want. Again, it looks like it's coming out. The reason why I made it a point at the start is because I was trying to make it look like it was coming out of the barrel. So making it small at the start and growing in size as it came out. I was hoping it would do that, but occasionally it just looks as though it leaks out the sides, and it actually doesn't. So just work on it until you get a good looking flume of smoke coming out of your barrel like that. that's pretty much it. I mean, these particles are a bit, experimental. You need to go in and experiment and keep moving things around, keep using the sliders to see what works and what doesn't. You'll find some really cool effects. Sometimes you can come up with some effects that you weren't expecting. You might end up saving them for a different project. So yeah, let's see, it comes up. It's quite a powerful system. The particle system in Unity is yeah, it's very good. Yeah, in the renderer I just dropped in the particle mist for the smoke. Okay, so that's that. It's good at Ember Sparks. It's very simple. It's very light actually. I've changed the start color, duration. It's the speed, start speed. Embers are come out pretty fast, a lot faster than the smoke, you notice. And there's not very many of them either. You don't want too many because it looks kind of odd. I've got maximum particles there, but you can put 500 there, and it won't make much difference because of the rate in which it's spitting them out. And they die when they get up here, so they don't last too long. So you'll never get 500 there anyway on the screen. So 500 is good. It doesn't really matter because of, like I say, because of the rate of the emission, the rate they are created. What else did I do that's different for this? Nothing really, just a bit of noise. I just see the way that it's sort of swirling up and moving a bit erratically. That's quite cool for particles because they tend to do that because of the heat being thrown out by them. They kind of wobble through the air, and just adding some noise onto them gives you that impression. And the particle is quite elongated, so it looks like it's being dragged up through the air as well. It's quite a nice sort of blurry sort of line as it travels up, which is quite nice. I haven't done anything special with that other than just made the particle that shape, so that's all that's doing. Oh yeah, one other thing I did for this was the fire ember part. Let me just go back in particles. Here's the fire ember. I made this cutout. I made a standard cutout. I made a standard material. I made it cutout because it's a cutout particle, but I actually made it emissive. So what that means is it glows. It stays glowing. It stays lit all the way to the end of its life. Like particles do, they glow. And if you look at that particle, it kind of glows. When it's in the dark, you can see a little red haze, a little orange haze around it, and that's because of the emissive. It will stay like that. And I've just set the colour to orange because that's what colour is in the actual particle itself. So anything that colour will be emissive, and that's kind of what you want for embers. It's the same as the actual logs in the actual barrel itself. Remember, we set that to emissive also, or parts of it, and then the embers are also emissive. So that's the embers, very simple. So the two important things on there, apart from setting it up to the right size and speed, is the noise. Make sure you put some noise on it to give that erratic behaviour and make the material emissive, like I've done here. And then finally we have the flames, and all that is not an emissive texture, because the actual glow of the post-processing is making that glow quite nicely, so I didn't do that. It's just a particle system and just a particle additive material, and then I've just added that into here apply our particle material in the renderer. There, no trail material. And I've just set these values up basically to give me that soft, that gentle, flamey motion. I think it could be better, to be perfectly honest. I've seen much better flames than that in games. If you can do better than that, that's, you know, I'm sure you can do better than that. I mean, I drew this particle very, very quickly, literally within a couple of minutes, and then just dropped it in here. You know, whatever you do, don't make it square shape because it will look a bit odd, because flames just aren't square. Make it a sort of, you know, water drop sort of shape, and you'll get that kind of flamey look. If you can get a texture sheet with actual flames, then that even better. That's really cool. It will look quite convincing. But you know, I think for this it's, you know, works quite well. I'm quite happy with that. I wouldn't be too upset if I saw that in a game. No, it's okay. Yeah, same. 30 for the emission shape. I just used a cone. Color over lifetime, same deal. I made sure I used the alpha there for that, so as it fades out towards the end of its life. Size over lifetime, again I shrink, do a wobbly effect on that, so it starts off sort of half the size and grows and then shrinks to nothing by the time it dies. And just a little bit of noise, you know, 0.5 point strength and 0.5 frequency, just to give it that wobbly look. The other thing I did with this, actually, one thing I did with the flames was restrict the shape. See, I made it quite small, so I just wanted the flames to be inside the barrel. So I made that cone very narrow to keep it enclosed within the barrel itself. Even though it doesn't look like it, sometimes you can see that cone is definitely inside the barrel, but the actual additive material makes it look like it's sort of, like I said before, rendering on the outside, but it's not. It's just a little bit strange, but that's okay. You know, it's just me being a bit picky. So that's the only thing I really did to the flames that's different. So apart from that, that's it. That's our barrels all set up. And make sure when you've set them all in here, you select the barrel and you click apply at the top, because you want that to be applied back to your prefab. So if we go to props again, you know, like I showed you before, if I put this out, you know, it's always there. It's strange because it's not in, this is in the editor, so it's just animating the one I'm clicking on rather than animating all of it at once. So make sure, like I say, you click apply when you've set it all up, and that way your prefab will be updated and it will appear every time you drop that prefab into the scene. And that's it. That's how you create flames and smoke and embers. So you know, study these. I'll give you the images for the particles attached to this lecture, so you can use them as a base. But you know, draw your own. It's not that difficult to draw a couple of blobs. Basically, that's all it was. So you know, have a go at the very least. I mean, you can see that's a blob. It's literally an orange blob. And it's 32 by 32, and that is an orange blob with some brighter yellow bits in the middle. So the particle system is doing all the work, not your image. So take some time, create a nice particle system. It's very simple to set up, as you can see over here. that's it. So I'll see you in the next lecture.